Daydreaming about Dragons. Episode 68, we're into season 2. And I'm thinking about something I wrote in a blog post about perception roles and investigation roles. Thinking about things I see online. I've been spending a lot of time on subreddits, particularly subreddits with brand new DMs. And that's been really cool. It's been really interesting and inspirational, interacting with folks and getting to help. It's a lot of fun. And in the age of streaming, you can watch people play, right? And you can see the technique. So that gets me thinking. That's very inspirational too. And that gets me daydreaming. And so I wrote a blog post about it called Can We Talk About Perception Roles? It's got a bunch of examples of play in it. Check it out. There'll be a link to it in the show notes. And in it, I wrote something, and I think I didn't realize that I was writing something important, but maybe it might be the best thing in the whole blog post. In it, I say consequences, context, and cool shit at all times. And I thought it would be a good idea to go over that. I think any one of those 3 C's, consequences, context, cool shit, when you're GMing, is something that is important. And it might be important when you're playing too. Let's put a pin in that. We'll come back to that. So I have this vague feeling that the techniques and the thoughts and the things that we want to do when we're GMing are the exact same thing when we're playing a character on a different scale, on a different angle. I could be wrong. We'll come back to it. So let's talk about those 3 C's. Consequences, right? And I think when people talk about consequences, they think about negative things, right? The players killed the sheriff, therefore the Lord of the Realm is going to send, all of their knights. The players robbed the shop, therefore the sheriff is coming for them. It's stuff like that. And it doesn't have to be. Think of the player's actions as throwing a stone in a pond, and the consequences are those ripples. And it might cause a frog to jump, and it might cause a frog to croak pleasingly. So let's talk about 2 consequences from media, taking an inspiration goat moment. We've got the Red Wedding, Game of Thrones. If you don't know, I'll sum up. Sorry to spoil it if you don't know. Robb Stark was supposed to marry a Frey. He doesn't. He marries for love, and the Freys feel cheated. And so when they go to cross the river that the Freys' castle is built on, they invite them to dinner and slit all their throats and shoot them with crossbows and blah, 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 blah. So that's a consequence of an action, right? In Burning Wheel terms, you could almost see it. The player has a belief, I will not be like my parents, I will marry for love. I think all of the problems that we're in is because of their ridiculous marriage. And then so they do marry for love, or he has a belief that he breaks, which is I will do what my family needs me to do. And he breaks it, which is kind of cooler. Probably better. And he breaks that belief and marries for love, and the Freys are angry, and blah, 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 blah. Death. Okay, that's one consequence. And I think that's what most people think of when they say consequences. I don't think it needs to. Here's another consequence. Conan the Barbarian, the old one, with Arnold and Mako. And Conan and his buddies just got done robbing a snake cult tower, and the king calls them in after they've been, drinking and eating and dancing their success away. And in doing, the king calls them. He thinks he's going to get, hanged for thievery, and instead the king Osrix, salutes them because his daughter has gone to Tulsa Doom for wisdom. And that's a nice one, right? That's a nice consequence. It brings further adventure. It gives the players a patron. It illustrates things about the world. It shows the reach that Tulsa Doom has had. Love that consequence. So when we're thinking about consequence, it doesn't have to be a negative thing. And if you're only showing negative consequences in your world for the player's actions, and they seem a little ground down, think about that. Think about what are some positive consequences, you know? Especially if you're into like a standard D&D thing, and I'd imagine that community is pretty tight-knit. That adventuring, tomb raiding, treasure hunting community is pretty tight-knit, and everybody talks. So when someone does a cool thing, everybody hears about it. Okay. Context. I think context and consequences are right up together, right? It is about taking these weird fantasy things and weaving them together, right? One of your players is playing, a nigh immortal elf. Another player is playing a paladin of the sun god. Okay, we need to start thinking, what does the sun deity think of these nigh immortal elves? And what do the elves think of the sun deity, right? Putting it all in context, weaving it together, right? The sun deity isn't crazy about the elves because the elves look at the sun as just another star, right? They honor the sun at dawn and at dusk, but they honor all stars equally because they're not so small-minded. Giving it context, putting things into place, and hugely important. Hugely important. Weaving it together. And then cool shit. Just cool shit, And cool shit is like the myofascial tissue that just goes over everything. Because you've got these opportunities to weave that cool shit in all over the place. And I think the other thing that cool shit needs to be, and this is something that I learned from the Shadow of Yesterday, is that you can put things in the game occasionally because you just like them. I think a lot of the times the GMs are these arbiters of fun and these curators of a great experience. And so they don't put things in just because they like them, just because they think they're cool. It's totally fine to do that. Cool shit. It could be something you think is cool. It could be something the players think is cool. It could be something that by agreeing to be in that genre, you all have said is cool. So, yeah, cool shit. If you find yourself tired, just don't like the prep and aren't enjoying the game, could be you're not putting enough cool shit in there. Could be I think there are a lot of things that could lead to that kind of exhaustion, especially nowadays, especially in the COVID era. But think about that cool shit. Look for it. Where is it? Where's the stuff you love? Huh? Yeah. So that's what I'm thinking about. I'm trying to, I think in reflecting on games and gaming, things are coming to the fore of the philosophy of gaming that I enjoy and the things that are working for me. And this might be one of them. Consequences, context, cool shit at all times. And if you aren't sure what to do, you can look down and say, okay, let's have some consequences for what the players have done, right? All right, let's give this thing that has happened some context. Let's put these people into context. Let's put this dungeon into context in the world around it. And there you go. And then if you're not sure about that, let's throw some cool shit out there. We can give it context later. All right. Not bad. It's a start. I think I could do a 10-minute bit on all those C's. Consequences, context, cool shit. We're going to circle back around to that. We're definitely going to, as I try to write down and put to words what it is that we do. Hey, does your jamming have some kind of little phrase that you like? What is it? What are your three things? Do you have a different C that you like? Do you have a different letter altogether? Let me know. Let me know what's going on at your table. Let me know what you think should be there other than consequences, context, and cool shit. Maybe there are better words. I'd love to hear them. All right. Inspiration go time.
Ooh, Dawnbringer, Into the Lair of the Sun God. Good stuff. Very good stuff. Thank you, Inspiration Goat. That's excellent. So, back in the day when there was this social media platform called Google+, I was looking around trying to figure out more about the heavy metal scene, because there's so much heavy metal now. It's like, I think there's so much of everything now with music, and it's so spread out, and there's so many different kinds of metal and subcategories that I was having a difficult time kind of sorting through it. And so I found 3 bands and a bunch of songs that I really liked, so I could kind of start to figure out my taste. And asked some friends. I was like, hey, I had some really good friends. A lot of the Burning Wheel crew are very into heavy metal and are really knowledgeable about it. So it was cool. And my buddy Dro mentioned this album, Dawnbringer, Into the Lair of the Sun God. And I'm bringing it up because it is a concept album. So you can understand the lyrics, and it reads more like a novel, right? You want to listen to it in order, in song order, all the way through. The names of each song are just chapter numbers, and it has a story. And I think the cool thing about finding inspiration from songs is that lyrics really are a kind of poetry. And poetry makes for really good adventures, because they're kind of vague, and they just hit you with imagery. And they hit you with a feeling, and that's great adventure fodder, right? Almost more so than books or movies in a lot of ways, because you're going to take those feelings and you're going to make them your own in a unique way. It's going to be different, and it might not even be recognizable. And you can just take it literally. Remember when I was a teenager, I think Kiss had a song called Crazy Nights? Back when they took their makeup off. Huge mistake. Anyway. And the GM at the time put a K in front of the Knights and made the Crazy Knights. And we fought this group of evil monsters who were knights. So you can take it literally, or you can just find one line and just say, what is that about, right? There's a line from a Zeal and Ardor song that says, cast my name in the salt and stone. I was just like, oh, wow, I can't stop thinking about that. I threw it in an adventure because I had to. I was compelled. I was moved. And I think that's why music is so good at inspiring adventure, right? Not only because we're in really a ridiculous golden age of fantasy, D&D inspired metal, but poetry and music and feelings make for good, excellent, really, adventure inspiration. Because I love, one thing I really like about the format of Trophy Gold Adventures is that they have these things called moments. And they're really nice. It's just little tiny things that happen. And things you notice. And those feel very real. We talk more about moments in an upcoming, I'm not going to go too much into them because we talk about them a bunch. We have a whole show about moments. That's the theme in an upcoming Trophy podcast. And Jason and I just dig in. It's really good. So I'm looking forward to unveiling that and sharing it with you all because it's really fun. But anyway, Into the Lair of the Sun God, really fun. Check it out. And it doesn't have to be, it absolutely doesn't have to be, doesn't have to be metal. It doesn't have to be anything with lyrics. I was making a playlist for Blaze in the Dark. I was making kind of a Spotify playlist, and Biggie Smalls' 10 Crack Commandments is definitely in there. It's definitely in there. I mean, he literally lays out for a criminal life. And it's great. We used to reference it all the time in our Blades in the Dark Bluecoats game. You know, they came across this real rookie crew at one point, and they were doing their own drugs. And of course, Strash said, you know, never get high on your own supply. Like, it's just, of course he said that. So check out, as a source of inspiration, as a source of adventure inspiration and fantasy and science fiction inspiration, check out song lyrics. It doesn't have to be Into the Lair of the Sun God. It doesn't have to be that literal. It can be whatever, you know? It doesn't have to be metal. It can be rap and hip hop. And I have this fantasy hip hop group that's out there somewhere being born. There's a group of kids, a group of POC kids in the Bronx somewhere right now playing D&D. And they are going to form a rap group, and they're going to rap about it. And I'm going to be so happy. I can't wait. I can't wait for those kids, whoever they are right now, to make that album. Because I really, you know, I haven't found really. I know that there's nerdcore. I don't want nerdcore. I want hip hop with a bit of fantasy, and I haven't found it yet. I don't know. I'm still looking. We'll see. Maybe it's out there and I just haven't found it. Because I had a similar journey with rap and hip hop, where I looked at what I was hearing on the radio, and maybe back in the day it was even MTV, and I was like, man, this isn't everything. I know there's more to this, more than this out here. What else? These are like 5 songs I like. What else is out there that's like this? I think I went on that journey like in the LiveJournal days. And people helped me kind of find good stuff. You know, that's when I kind of uncovered the dead Prez and a bunch of other folks. Saul Williams and you know, a bunch of really cool political hip, you know, progressive hip hop. It was good, really good. So yeah, dig in. Just dig in. Find a genre you like, find a song you like, and dig into it. And dig into the lyrics, dig into the feelings of the song. You know, make that adventure, make that encounter, make that campaign. I think you could absolutely run a campaign by playing a song and being like, I don't know what I want out of this, but I want to play this. And then see what people are getting out of it. And that's one of the reasons why I've talked before about having a theme song to a game and you know, talking about the intro, you know, the kind of HBO style show intro. Because it's a shorthand, it's an artistic shorthand that allows you to communicate feelings more than, you know, this is what your character sees. It allows you to kind of step back and say something else about the game through a different angle, which is valuable. So check that out. If you check out any of these bands, you know, Dawnbringer or any of them, Saul Williams or Dead Prez or whatever, I'll try to have some links in the show notes so you can track those folks down. It's good stuff. There's so much good stuff out there now. And who's your favorite? What's going on with you? Who do you like? What's a song that really inspires your game table and makes you say, oof, I want to play that? You know, I know a lot of folks like The Sword. They're pretty awesome. Let me know. Zeal and Ardor are a favorite of mine. I think they might have been like an Inspiration Goat subject of like the first or second episode. So yeah, I'm into it, and I'd love to hear what you're thinking and what you're listening to and what's inspiring you. So drop me a line. Let me know. Cool. Let's outro. Thank you so much for listening to Daydreaming About Dragons. I appreciate it. If you'd like to support the show, you can do a number of things. You can drop a review. Drop me a 5-star review on iTunes or whenever podcast listener you are listening to that allows for reviews. It really helps the show. It helps everything. So it helps the algorithm. So drop a line, do that. If you want to even write something, that's even better. Say something about what people are getting into when they click play on a Daydreaming About Dragons episode. That'd be wonderful. You can email me or tweet at me. I've got my Twitter is at InspirationGoat, all one word. I'm still floating on getting that Twitter account. And let me know what's going on at your game. Let me know, this episode, we've got a lot of things going on. So let me know what your 3 words would be as a GM. Let me know what songs and what poetry and what art is inspiring your game. Drop me a line. What song makes you want to adventure? What song have you based an adventure on? Drop me a line and let me know. I'd love to hear from you. And there are places to donate. We've got that. It is up in the show notes. So feel free to drop that line and let me know. And there's one more thing I'm going to share. There is a link. I'm going to put it at the top of the show notes. It is called the Hold the Line Guide, and it's just about if you're concerned about the election this year, this might be a cool way to be prepared or be a little more prepared. It's called A Guide to Defending Democracy. So that'll be up there. It's called, look for the link, Hold the Line, and check it out, spread it around, join a training. Let's behold democracy, and I'll see you next week. All right. Daydreaming about dragons, and we're in episode 67. I don't know what the fuck episode number we're in.